definition, it's just like texting.
It's only so many characters, isn't it?
Yeah. The complex definition, it's a micro-blogging platform where users can quickly reach thousands and thousands of followers instantly with a 140 character message. Just like an SMS. Yeah, exactly. Now, microblogging. So no one's going to ask me what microblogging is. Do you know what blogging is? Does everyone know what a blog is? A blog, in fact, is blogging is the original social media platform. Blogging is a way to open up a channel of conversation with customers. So you have your static website, which is nothing more than a traditional marketing medium. It's a static website, it's like a brochure. It's just sitting there doing nothing, giving out information, yelling at your customers. Whereas a blog, you can attach to your website where you've put your information and there's a box down the bottom that encourages people to interact with your post. So that's a blog. Microblogging is what Twitter is you put something out there and you wait for someone to comment, reply, retweet, and we'll go through each other. Some facts. Worldwide Twitter users, only 100 million, as opposed to Facebook 840 million. Australian Twitter users, 1.8, as opposed to, what did I say Australia was? 13 million, yeah. So it's about 7% of the population use Twitter. 64% of Twitter users in Australia are male. So they can say.
Less to say.
Yeah,
they only have 140 characters.
And they don't even have to spell right.
There are some men in the audience.
Yes. Just roll with the punches. Australian users spend around 10 minutes per session on Twitter. So they're usually a couple of minutes. I think Facebook was like 20 minutes a session, so double or more. 44% of Australian politicians are on Twitter. That's where they get in trouble, and they should stay on it. Australia is ninth in the world in percentage of population on Twitter. I had that stat right. Okay, so Twitter's benefits. You can broadcast news to customers or followers or anyone instantly. It's instant messaging. Facebook is kind of instant, but Twitter is really fast and furious, and that's probably why I don't like it, because I'm a bit of a nester, I suppose. And Twitter, you just wham bang, thank you ma'am. Receive feedbacks and testimonials, very similar to Facebook. You can monitor what people are saying about your brand, which is really important. I was talking in the break that, as Jared said, you are now, as a corporation, losing control of your online reputation. They're in the hands of your clients and customers because they can post whatever they like about you. You have no control over it. The only thing you can do is monitor the use of your brand's name and react to fix the problem. Foster valuable word-of-mouth referrals, interact one-on-one with customers. Twitter users. One example of Twitter users was Jerry Massey. Now, we haven't gone through the terminology, so you'll probably ask me what this thing is, but I'll explain to you later what it is. The EMQ, was it? Started posting out updates on Twitter. Fast, furious, as long as you had an internet connection or a mobile phone, because Twitter's very handy on mobile phones.
Does it go just to the phone or just to go to computers as well?
It goes to the computer and the phone. You can set them up. So how valuable is that for businesses or organisations like EMQ or this one, Cyclone Updates, to actually get information out really quick? In fact, I read a post the other day and I went to put it on, but I couldn't find it again. It was over in one of the third world countries, they were having droughts, but like 70% of people over there have mobile phones. You wouldn't believe it. They're starving, yet they've got mobile phones. They were actually, yeah, and they were actually tweeting, you know, where the worst places were, and like Red Cross and those organisations could spearhead on the worst areas because of the tweets. Now that's pretty powerful. In fact, that was she was young enough to find. Twitter was used with that overrun over in overseas, that country overseas, Egypt. Twitter was how they got the message out. It's the instant and global. Another way Twitter is used, has anyone watched Q&A? Yes. Wonderful. Do you know, I'm amazed that not more TV programs use Twitter as an audience interaction. This is...
I got Fango or something.
Fango? Oh,
Fango.
That's
said it's got Fango.
oh, okay. Because really, television is the traditional market. It's just blasting. It's got no control over who hears it, and you can't. It's a one-way. You're as a customer or a client, you're just being talked to. Whereas Q&A gives you the option to actually engage and interact with what is being said, and even post video questions to Q&A. Awesome. Just so powerful. So just remember that when you're doing any traditional media marketing, always try and think how you can actually incorporate social into it. Because if you can create a one-on-one, that's one extra person that you're convincing to go and spread the word.
We'll probably be to know a bit about how it works and how we use it before we can start thinking, oh, well, we should use this in our business. You see what I mean? I've got the hashtag there, and you said that people were using the Yassi, TC Yassi. How did people know that TC Yassi hashtag? How did they know where to find that was something to latch onto? How did they latch onto it?
Yeah, see, they would have had to have either heard it from someone else on Twitter or on the news maybe, or on the radio, because they might say, you know, use the hashtag Q&A.
Don't you have to follow somebody though to get their tweets?
Yes. Or you can search on the hashtag.
It'd be good to know this is what you think, what is the hashtag and what does it mean?
Yeah. Well, I've got some terminology, which I probably should have put in the front there. Okay, Twitter terminology. The @ sign. The @ sign is the symbol that links users to posts, or if you @ and then put in, say, EMQ, you're actually sending a message to EMQ. Now, people complain about privacy on Facebook. Well, there's less privacy on Twitter. There's really no way to control privacy on Twitter. The only thing is that you don't have to use your real name like you do on Facebook. Anyway, a hash sign is, an @ symbol is what you put in before. So with EMQ, say you would put the @ symbol EMQ, and that would then give a link to the EMQ Twitter page, and it would also post on their wall. So EMQ would see it, and all EMQ's followers would see it, and all your followers would see it. Now on Twitter you have followers, whereas on Facebook you have friends or fans. On Twitter you don't have a business. You can actually set up a business profile or a personal profile. You don't have to set up both like you do on Facebook. Okay, the next one is a direct message. With Twitter you can send a direct message. And again, I'm breezing through this. This is like a 6-hour workshop generally. So I'm just giving you like an idea. You can favourite tweets. So you will, if you've seen Twitter, it's a mad rush of messages after messages after messages. So you can actually favourite the ones that you are interested in and you want to look back on later. You can follow people. So you might want to follow, like if you know the cyclone's coming, you will go and follow cyclone updates and EMU or Bureau of Meteorology or Queensland Police. You will get all their feeds. into your newsfeed. A follower is someone that follows you. So if you're a business and you're creating good content, people will actually follow you. And everything that you post will go into their newsfeed. And I'll see it. You've got a hashtag. Now, hashtag is like a filtering system. If you put a hashtag in front of something like TCYASI, Tropical Cyclone Yasi, and somebody who doesn't know the hashtag or wants to see all the posts that have that hashtag in it. Say you say, I'm sitting on the balcony waiting for hashtag TCYASI to hit. And somebody else says hashtag TCYASI's coming. Or you can actually filter on every tweet that anyone has ever posted that's used the hashtag TCYASI. It's just a filtering system.
So you click on that, do you?
And you can click on that,
Okay.
or you can search on it. So hashtag YASI, and it will bring up all the tweets. So for a business, you might want to create a hashtag for business, so that if somebody was looking at volunteering in Townsville, and commenting about volunteering in Townsville, they might have a hashtag. So you can just filter on every tweet that's talking about volunteering. Link shortener. Because you only have 140 characters, even though 140 characters you can sing happy birthday, the whole happy birthday song fits in 140 characters. But often you'll get URLs if you want to share a link to a website. You know how long they can be. Twitter will actually cut that back into a link, a really short link. It still links to the same place, it's just a shorter version. Lists. You can actually create lists, which is very similar to Facebook, but the opposite side, because with lists you're actually putting people who you're following into lists so that you can filter on topics. Maybe, if you're a fitness freak, you might have a list on Townsville fitness coaches, and you'll be able to filter on all their tweets. Mentions, again, that's just using the @ symbol. So I could get on Twitter now and say, I'm at the @ tag and whatever the username is for volunteering in Townsville. So they get that posted in their newsfeed where their followers will see and my followers will see. I find it very hard to create a relationship on Twitter because really it's just anyway. But you need to know these things because it is that your target market may be on. The @ reply, you can actually reply to a tweet. So if somebody posted out a tweet, if you hit the reply button, you will actually be able to reply to that person and their followers. A retweet is where you see someone's tweet that you're following. So you know what a tweet is, don't you? Yeah, it's just the one that you put through. You can actually share that with your followers, so you're going to retweet it. Now that's one way of creating a relationship, just like on Facebook, where you're sharing someone else's posts or some other business's posts with your fans. If you start retweeting other people's stuff, you're starting to create a relationship because they're going to be thankful that you retweet.
So they can tell you retweet it.
Yes, yeah. They'll know. And an RT is just an abbreviation of retweet. And your timeline, I kept referring it to a news feed because to me that's just like a feed, a Twitter feed. They call it a timeline. And a tweet, is just the little 140 or less character post.
Including a space?
Including space, yeah. That's our Twitter profile. So you can actually customise it, brand it.
Is that free as well?
Yes, Twitter's free. In fact, up until about 12 months ago, nobody even knew how Twitter made money because they didn't even advertise. But now you can actually advertise. On Facebook, you can pay for advertising, and that's how they make their money. And now Twitter does the same. You can actually promote tweets and promote your business ad system. So you can see there's tweet, 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 tweet. And these things here are the little, the tweets that have been, the URLs that have been shortened. So if you came to my Twitter profile, that's what you would see, all my tweets. And then you get to follow me if you...
So can we go and look at your Twitter profile?
You can.
Did you need a Twitter account?
Do you?
I think you do, actually. I think you do need a Twitter account to view Twitter. Facebook, no, you can actually see a Facebook page without having a profile. And now this is the back end of Twitter. So this is what you will see personally. So you'll see all the people that you're following. So these are all the people I'm following, and that's all their posts. So we're following 1,600 other tweets, peeps, tweets, whatever they're called, twerps, tweets. And so we get a mad rush of information.
Why do you want that?
Because we're trying to create relationships with these people.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
What I mean is it's so much so it's overload. So you
you probably wouldn't need 1,600 people. You would be selected, but these people are getting in front of the people that we want to get in front of. So we're going to use them as leverage to get in front of their people. Yeah.
So, getting back to drawing a comment that Gerard made earlier about Twitter and your perception about Twitter that you don't really think it's one of the best tools to use. I think what you're saying is that in one day you could potentially have 1,600 messages there that you're never going to have time to read. You're going to do just like Gerard and just let it scroll through by itself and never actually interact. And yet you're both saying Twitter is one of the medias that we should be using, but at the same time, the common message is that it's at some point it gets just too much to actually deal with.
What I'm saying is you need to be where your customers are, where your target market is. If your target market's on Twitter, that's where you need to be. You may choose not to be, but that's where you're going to get the best ROI. There's no point in being on Facebook if all your fans or all your potential customers are on Twitter. Even though I don't like Twitter myself, because to me it's too fast. But I'm not saying that we don't benefit from our...
So just roughly, how many posts would you get a day on your Twitter account, on your personal
Well, yeah, at least 1,600.
Right, so
Okay.
how many of them do you read?
No, not all of them. But I set up...
And you sort of made the same comment. You just let it just scroll through. You don't even get a chance to get to it.
Yeah.
What I've got is, if I could just pick up on a couple of things, there's some apps and add-ons you can get with it. I don't even worry about what I do. I get pretty sophisticated. I have a list written in biro on an A4 sheet of paper, sticky tape to the side of my desktop computer of the main ones that I want to check each day.
Well, that's where you list. You could create lists.
And so what I'm saying is that I go through that and I will check and follow some of those particularly. So there's some things I am tracking or trying to follow on that are my regulars. Beyond that then, I will then go chase other things as they come up. But no, if you've got to... I'm more interested, as Tracy said a moment ago, a lot of the things that I'm involved in, that's where people are. So if nothing else, it's a bit like Tracy saying you can't be in social media if you don't have a presence there, you know what I mean? So there's that side of it too.
The other thing is you want to monitor your brand. So if somebody is on Twitter talking about your brand, you can set up alerts so that you can interact with that person. Now, so you might be a real estate agent, and someone gets on Twitter and says, I'm desperately looking for a house in Pearl. You may miss that, obviously, but you may pick it up. So that's an extra customer that you have that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't been on Twitter. So it is difficult, and social media is not easy. It's simple. It's not easy.
Simple but complicated.
Yes.
The other thing I do with Twitter is that I'm particularly, a number of you know, involved with grants. So globally I have about 30 grants writers that I interact with, and I do a lot of that now through Twitter. The other thing I do with Twitter is I reward some of my clients, colleagues or whatever. So if I see something interesting, I'll post it through that, and then I'll post it on direct message or whatever. So there are a few things. What I look at is websites now that allow me to, particularly in the technology area or the grants area, allow me to do that Twitter, Facebook or LinkedIn. So they have the little tabs, the little title tabs. So there's a few things that I do because Twitter's part of that pool, but I've actually got, as you said, I've got some lists, but I tend to still be fairly manual about how I do it. But in the grants area, I find it, I take Tracy's point, but if you have a tweet message with the web address and say, look, here's a new grant, I send it across to somebody in America and say, look, if you want to co-write the application, you can do that. As Tracy said, Twitter's great strength is it's so fast, its great weakness is it's so fast. But you can send information very quickly through a web link and that type of thing.
Yeah, it's very quick to get messages out. I've heard of a baker, I think, in one capital city in Australia, and he tweets out when he's pulling the buns out of the oven at 12, lunchtime or morning time. That's how he gets his message out. So it's good to get messages out. But again, like with all the other social medias, I could be here for hours and still not touch, but hopefully giving you some sort of food for thought.
If I could just close on one point with that, with Twitter and the others, but also Twitter, what a lot of businesses now, particularly in retail and other areas, they might have Twitter or whatever operating, but if they've got staff there during the day and they're having a downtime, well then part of those staff new job profile is that ability to use Twitter or some of these other tools. So they actually do that during the day when they'd normally be sitting around. So the car industry, retail sector, particularly women's fashion, where they might have it Mondays and Tuesdays and slow days or whatever.
Restaurants. If you run a restaurant and it's really quiet at 7 o'clock, you could send out a broadcast tweet saying, the next 10 people through the door get free bottle of wine. And everyone that's on your following list will see that. It's a way to get out information really quickly.
Particularly when it's coming up on your phone now. It always did, but the real strength is the phone. So when I open up my phone,